All right, everyone. Simply Bitcoin, the channel that breaks down all the daily Bitcoin news from Twitter, the daily fail, the meme review, software releases, the websites by plebes. Drop us a like and subscribe. All right, we're going to the numbers. Okay, block height 668,958. The current Bitcoin price 37,455. Chain rewrite days 603. Total lightning capacity 1,067.29 BTC Bitcoin versus gold market cap 5.85%. And sats per dollar 2,671. That number has dropped.
We had a sailor pump, bro. We had a sailor pump. Half a cluck.
It's sailor pump. It started pumping before. But I know what you mean. Okay, fine. We'll give him something.
Half a cluck from Satoshi, the Bitcoin chicken, because it was a sailor pump. But regularly, he only clucks when the price of Bitcoin reaches all-time high. But he's contained himself for so many weeks. He just had to let it out. Phil, it's time for it.
The daily fail. So, we've dumped on DeFi here quite a bit, and I believe it's rightfully so, because at the end of the day, it's a very, very high risk casino. This is brought to us by our boy, fellow Bitcoin plebe, at X218935 on Twitter. And yeah, he writes back, okay, scammer. And this was just a perfect tweet, right? So Tyler Winklevi, he writes, Bitcoin, ETH, and DeFi are your exits from the system. No, it's not. Okay. And then, right, this was X21's response, rightfully so, this nice little caption of the rug pulls, the plague of Uniswap, thousands of ETH lost. Like, look, even though we don't post this every single day, there are constant rug pulls going on. That is, even a casino doesn't work that way. You walked into an arena that is rigged. That's a casino. You understand that. Here, you walk into an arena and the arena itself disappears. This is what DeFi is. All of a sudden, it's gone. And I see that there's groups on Telegram where you can see, okay, people losing thousands of dollars in minutes, in some cases seconds. And you've got, I'm sorry to say this, but I've heard some people on Clubhouse sit there and talk about it like it's an investment. Look, okay? To me, like, I think it's an outright scam. Okay, I think it's an outright scam to steal your money. That's my personal opinion. The same way that ICOs were. None of those things needed to be tokens. Okay, none of those things are money. And here we are today. None of them have even come close to beating Bitcoin. And believe me, in 2017, that's all we heard. All right, Bitcoin was dead, and all these other shit coins were going to win. Wrong. That's not what happened. So DeFi is the same thing. And you hear it. These people sit there and they're like, "Oh my gosh, it's amazing! You get all this yield. Yield from what? Where do you think it comes from? There's no proof of work. No one is actually paying, and buying resources to make this happen. This is complete vapor markets. That's all it is. They're complete vapor markets, and they use your money as fuel." Anyways,
it's a Ponzi. It's literally a Ponzi. And, I'm so glad we went back to crapping on the DeFi, because I missed that. We just spent so much time crapping on CSW, on, Francis Coppola, central bank. So I'm glad we're back at the DeFi. Phil, I completely agree with you 100%. Your tweet from literally a couple months back said it perfectly, right? It encapsulated perfectly. You're replacing the Federal Reserve, that central entity, with some kid in his mom's basement, and that's who you're trusting, right? Because when you sign up to these DeFi, contracts, you're basically depositing money into these contracts, right? And you don't know whether the code is nefarious or not, right? So that tweet perfectly encapsulates the situation, right? It's like he says, escape the system, escape the Federal Reserve, which already can't be trusted, right? But at least has some type of trust. They can't completely burn down the system, to trusting some kid in his mother's basement, right? And that's why you get so much of these disasters, of these DeFi disasters. We've been covering on Simply Bitcoin all the vegetables, the yam, the sushi, all those catastrophes of people losing millions of dollars, So, man.
Ridiculous.
Amen. Great fail. I'm so glad we're back at DeFi. Phil, it's time for
the daily meme review.
All right, everybody. Today we got a meme brought to us by a fellow plebe, BitPaint Club. Awesome. Super cool. By the way, guys, if you want us to review your meme, look down in the link description. There's a Simply Bitcoin Telegram chat. Join in there, drop us some memes, and we'll review them. We review all the memes that people give to us, or at least we try. Let's check out the meme. Dude,
send it.
This is like a piece of art, man. This is like, oh, this is like a citadel, like in space.
Yeah.
I'm in the background. Oh, that's cool. Someone on the computer. Okay, the Genesis block in the background. Okay, the attention to details. I like it. It's like a piece of art. Okay. Phil, I'm gonna give that a solid 8.5. What about you?
So BitPaint is close to my heart. Going with 10. Going with a solid 10 on that.
Damn. Why do you give it?
Giving him the works.
Why do you give it a 10?
I gave it a 10 because of the attention to detail. I love the Genesis the Genesis block that he used in the background. It's like one of my favorite images. I had to save that one. It's one of the best ones that was done. Of course, I have to love that he's got us on TV in the background. So yeah, I'm biased. Whatever. Screw you. You'd be biased too if it was you. Okay. And you know, I just he's got all the themes, and then of course, what does he have? He's got that constant devaluation of the dollar and its purchasing power. Okay, and how much that thing has been just slammed into the ground. It's below 6 feet already. It's a freaking zombie.
I completely agree.
So yeah, that's why he's getting a 10.
I would have given it a 10 too, but guess what? It didn't make me laugh. That's why I had to deduct some points. That's why I had to deduct some points. Anyways, Phil, let's move on.
Okay, I'm going to get some hate from Greg now.
Let's move on to the next. I know, right? Greg's going to murder us. Okay, so the next meme is brought to us by Winekiss, aka Bitcoin is Us. Michael Saylor. He did send this. He sent this to us today to review. Michael Saylor selling a new floor at today's MicroStrategy. Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah. Man, that is funny. Very good. Very good. Winekiss, awesome meme. Phil, I'm going to give that a solid 9. What about you?
We are in tune. 9. I went with a solid 9 as well. Yep.
So
it was funny.
Mine's very self-explanatory. It's very self-explanatory. It made me laugh. It was funny. It correlated perfectly with today's Michael Saylor Bitcoin conference, which we're going to cover in a sec. So it was great. Why did you give it a 9?
I gave it a 9 because it made me laugh, which I really enjoyed. It was funny that it was Michael Saylor, right, putting in the floor. It was very well done, right? And I mean, like, look, at the end of the day, okay, why would it lose a point, right? Again, not that we have some official freaking metric, you know, but like, why did it lose a point? Because you know what? At the end of the day, not everybody knows Michael Saylor, and if you were to just freaking hang that up somewhere in a subway, you know, they'd be like, WTF is this guy? So,
okay.
Yeah, it's a niche meme, right?
It's a niche meme. I agree. That's why I didn't give it a perfect 10 as well. Phil, it's time for
the Daily News, sponsored by Crypto Cloaks.
Phil, the next piece of news is brought to us by Forbes. And this was a huge announcement. And Phil, I want to get your thoughts on this. Visa reveals Bitcoin and crypto banking roadmap amid race to reach network of 70 million. That's absolutely huge. The fact that that Visa's considering adding Bitcoin to one of the Phil, do you want to correct me on that? Because I'm not so familiar with Visa.
Okay, so I mean, look, I guess we'll back up, right? I saw some FUD article about Visa not accepting Bitcoin as payments or something like that because it's not a payment system or whatever. Anyways, look, at the end of the day, what we need to understand about Visa, okay, and MasterCard is this, okay? These companies, they have the largest moat when it comes to the payment networks. Visa owns 60% of the current payment rails out there right now. MasterCard owns approximately 40. And you say to yourself, well, you know, what happened to American Express and Discover? So look, these numbers are approximate, and essentially American Express and Discover battle for that little, and Global Payments, I think, Heartland Global Payments, anyways, whatever. They all battle for this tiny little fraction, all right, that's in that 10%, right? and it kind of pivots. So these people are like not big players, but the whole point I'm making is this: Visa is not going to give up their economic moat for Bitcoin. Okay, they're not just going to let Bitcoin come in and rob them of everything they've built for years. So yeah, and don't get me wrong, fuck Visa if that happens, right? I mean, like, look, if Bitcoin shows up and eats your lunch because everybody decided to build on it and it's better than the system you have, this is capitalism, right? This is what happens. On the other hand, if they embrace Bitcoin and they decide to work with it and they decide to, let's say, figure out how to add it to their current payment rails, well, they may end up, kind of really solidifying their market position, which, don't get me wrong, like I said, it's really Visa versus MasterCard when it comes to these payment rails. And MasterCard is approximately 20%, smaller than Visa. So, or they own 20% less of the payment rails than Visa. So that is a pretty big chunk. So Visa is the clear leader, but the fact that they came out and made this statement, this is hugely bullish. And I am interested to see how they work with Bitcoin and how this all comes together.
It's crazy, the change of tune, right? Because I saw that FUD as well, where it's like they didn't want to add Bitcoin, but it's crazy how they just changed the tune. Do you think this has anything to do with that announcement from the US government a month or two back when we reported on Simply Bitcoin? Smash that like button, where they basically said that the banking, some type of bureaucratic agency was like, Bitcoin can be used as a payment rail, and they signaled that to the bank. Do you think that has anything to do with that?
You know what? I mean, people can draw that conclusion if they want, but I'll tell you this: a company like Visa moves very slowly. Yes, they do have some smaller arms that they can move quickly, right? That's what they do. They kind of subsidize some smaller businesses that can pivot a little bit faster. But at the end of the day, this is Visa. So they are not going to move quickly. I would suggest that they've already been looking at this for a while. Okay. And they're essentially, companies like this, when you're that big, sometimes you need something to be worthwhile, right? Like, you can't just jump into something even though it's going to kill. So you kind of just need to wait and watch the space mature, but you're getting your offering ready because you're already seeing what's around the corner. And I kind of think that Visa is that kind of company, and they've just been essentially waiting for the market to appear so that they can simply say, here's what we've got.
Absolutely.
We'll see.
Absolutely bullish. We'll see. The last piece of news, Phil, is Michael Saylor. He had the Bitcoin or corporations conference today. I signed up and I sat through the whole thing so that I can report it for Simply Bitcoin. Man, was it long, but the first hour was absolutely incredible. If you guys want to see more details, we are a short show, but if you guys want to see the whole thing, you should go check out Joe Rogers' tweet thread, and he goes through all the specifics. If you guys want to see the whole video for yourselves, I'm going to put down the link in the description. But basically, Phil, it was absolutely crazy. Right here where it says Bitcoin Macrostrategy, they had Ross Stevens on, and he's the CEO of Stonebridge. And man, it was absolutely insane. Twitter was blowing up. Michael Saylor had claimed that he thinks that, and guys, understand the significance of this. Michael Saylor just told giant institutions and corporations that he thinks that the Bitcoin market cap is going to reach 100 trillion within the next 10, 15 years. That is absolutely insane. That's 100x that you're telling a company, right? Thousands of corporations he thinks are going to flood into Bitcoin in the next 12 months. He discussed central banks, the fiat broken system. To remember, we're in the Bitcoin in the echo chamber, right? So we know how central banking is broken. We know that fiat is broken. So hearing this coming out from a corporation is telling other corporations that the fiat system is broken, is absolutely insane. Ross Stevens basically told us that he already has 280 institutional clients, and he thinks that by the end of the year, they're going to have $25 billion in Bitcoin in their possession, which they're going to have for institutions. He thinks that Bitcoin is going to drive financial innovation. and that none of his clients have walked back their investments from ever. So every single one of Ross Stevens' institutional clients hasn't walked back his investment, his or hers investment. He thinks that there's going to be a wall of money, quote, a wall of money going into the asset. And he thinks that corporations cannot afford to ignore it anymore, right? Those are the bullet point notes that I wrote, Phil. And you know what? The significant thing that I got from this conference, and I think that the thing that called to my attention the most, right? It was calling out that the system is broken. The fact that he focused so much on inflation, on fiat, right? And the fact that he had this claim that if you're a corporation, you cannot afford to stay on the sidelines when it comes to Bitcoin. You need to go in, right? That was absolutely astonishing. And also from Ross himself, the fact that there was so much interest from institutions already, right? And he's so bullish on it that he thinks that from his $6 billion in Bitcoin managed that he has at the time, he thinks that by the end of the year, it's going to go all the way up to 25 billion, right? This is absolutely insane. This is what's going to cause the run up to 100K. And Phil, I don't usually, I hate speculating, but I'm telling you 100K is going to come a whole lot quicker than we think it is, because of the things that this guy was saying today, right? Because remember, for us Bitcoiners in the echo chamber, it's very easy. We're all just talking to each other, right? But when you have an outsider, right, that specializes in money management for institutions, and he's saying the things that Bitcoiners are saying, you have to understand that this guy's job every single day is to pitch Bitcoin, and he's doing it successfully. So the amount of money flooding into the Bitcoin ecosystem, the Bitcoin network, is absolutely insane. And Phil, I have no doubt in my mind that this thing is going to run up to 100K way before December. Like it's absolutely astonishing. And like I said, guys, if you want the details, this is a short show, so I can only give you the bullet points. If you want the complete details, check out Joe Rogers' thread, which we're going to link down below, and check out the whole video. If you want to watch, I think it's like 3-4 hours of video. If you want to watch the whole thing, you can go check that out as well. Right. Phil, what are your thoughts on the institutions coming for Bitcoin?
Yeah. I mean, look, obviously bullish, right? I think it's really cool that I didn't know who Ross Stevens was before today. You know, somebody mentioned him in the chat and I'm like, who the hell's Ross Stevens? You know, and they're like, oh, you know, and then people are like, oh, you know, he's, you know, Stone Ridge CEO and all this. Okay. So look, it was good. You know, I saw some bits and pieces. It was good to see them go back and forth. I couldn't watch the whole thing. It was good to see them go back and forth. You could kind of tell that, you know, Michael Saylor's kind of like lobbing up these easy questions and stuff like that, which kind of helps, you know, the whole bullish atmosphere and all that good stuff. Okay. But look, at the end of the day, he was able to sit there and explain to all of these people what we were explaining to people at parties when no one's listening, when everybody thinks you're crazy. So it's kind of funny how this has changed, how the environment has changed. You know, it's like, sure, you know, people are still talking about Bitcoin at parties, but like, look at this, you know, like this was like a pretty official meeting and, you know, they're there to talk about how to get Bitcoin onto their balance sheets. And unfortunately, I know that the dinosaur company that I work for will most likely not be having Bitcoin on its balance sheet. So it's too bad.
But it was a step in the right direction, right?
Yes. It's huge.
And it's incredibly humbling, Phil, that us Bitcoiners have front run Wall Street, right? That's usually not the case. Wall Street always has the upper hand, but Bitcoin has equals the playing field. And we have front run. I want anyone that's listening to this, you have front run Wall Street. You have front run the institutions. Get ready, because the train that's coming this year is gonna absolutely melt your face. And I say this with all sincerity, your life's gonna change.
Yep.
So it's absolutely crazy. Phil, I'm so bullish. I'm sweating. Phil, there was a software release today. Why didn't you tell everybody about it?
software releases. All right. Looks like we've got Phoenix version 1.4.6 that was released, and the details to that are down below in the show notes.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil. All right, guys, that was our show. If you enjoyed the show, it really helps us with the YouTube algorithm. It helps with the engagement. Smash that like button. If you guys love the show, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button. And of course, we'll see you tomorrow for another episode of Simply Bitcoin.